Welcome back to our favorite series, Waiting for Marc Bagwell. I'm your host, the chosen lawyer, with my co-pilot here, Mr. Jerry Hood, Mr. First Cousin. How you doing, Jerry?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
I was telling you, I love when you have the hat backwards and then you got the sunglasses on top. You got the whole Marc styling with the goatee going.
It's not doing too good. It's not doing too good today, but the glasses I lost. I had them on earlier, but busy day.
Hey man, at least yours is not as gray as mine. Look at this. Like, this is ridiculous.
Oh man.
Jeez.
You're 10 years older than I am. We talked about that. So
well, I thought I was 20 years older. You're in your 50s and I'm 70, remember?
Oh man, that's yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
I'm not quite that old yet, but I'll play the game.
I don't know if you remember this wrestler. It might be before your time, but the shirt that I'm wearing today.
Oh baby, yeah. Wow.
You remember that guy?
Randy Savage.
The Macho Man. Cream of the crop.
Man, one of a kind gimmick. I mean, wow. Who would ever thought? And then to get the Slim Jim. Wow.
Snap into his Slim Jim. Oh yeah.
Oh, there's not a time, you walk into a store, if you see that wrestling related, you're like Randy Savage, you tie that. I mean, I'd like to know the paychecks he received on that.
Well, I got a question for you. I'm always gonna start off with I got a question for you, but I got a question for you. How much of an influence did Randy Savage, the Macho Man, have on your life and on Marc Bagwell's life? Do you figure?
Wow. For me, zero.
Okay.
I did meet him once, 92, 93 at the Omni, I believe it was. He was with Hogan, and that was a big deal.
This was already when he's wearing the full pants and the half poo suit shirt with the cut off arms. He's no longer wearing the briefs. This is the older Macho Man we're talking about.
Correct. And at the Omni, I accidentally got in backstage and just pretended like I was fitting in. And I did, and I stayed back the whole night. But great guy. No influence on me whatsoever. Met him, talked to him a couple of times. Met him, that night. And with Marcus, I really don't know the answer to that. I know that they were good friends. He talked about it, all the time. And of course, Macho would always say, about, Marcus, hey, great guy, your cousin, about like Dusty that we talked about. So that was always good to hear,
But in their speaking styles, I never really thought, I didn't put this shirt on purpose to bring this question. I just love, I own like 6 Macho Man shirts. I'll admit it. Like, there's my Macho Man shirts and there's my Ric Flair shirts. That's like my choice of wrestling shirts. If you catch me in a wrestling shirt, it's one of those two guys, just because the influence they had on me, because, Macho Man is the Macho Man and he was so freaking awesome. And Ric Flair, we're living the Ric Flair life. Woo, we'll get to Ric Flair one day. But Macho Man right now, when you hear him speak, if you think about it, the way Marcus speaks today, they're not that far off if you think about it. There's got to be some influence there somewhere.
Well, really close, but I think it was by accident. And I'd have to get Marc to clear it up for me. But his was basically, it hasn't always been that raspy, maybe somewhat. His was due to when he broke his neck in South Carolina. And then I guess during the healing process, something happened. And I don't know if it was a tracheotomy. I can't. Something happened. And I think they had to do maybe some type of an emergency surgery or something. And it messed with the vocal cords a little bit. So it's a little more raspier now than, say, 25 years or 30 years ago, roughly. But then, of course, if you tie the two together, it does remind you of Savage.
Like, it's funny, like, it's not funny, but as far as, is it with age? People guess as far as, smoking, not smoking. I had one YouTube viewer that wrote this in and said, he sounds like my grandmother swallowed her pack of cigarettes, and it does have that smoker talk, but also when you have a raspy voice in general, it comes with age sometimes, and also it can come from medically wise. But now that I'm thinking about the way you're saying it, I agree with you. After the surgery, after everything, the voice did change naturally. Yeah.
If you go pre, I guess 95, 96, and then after, you can tell a big difference, no doubt.
Now,
and I think it was, as far as this breaking, the C1, C2, and all that. I think that, and then the surgery, and then that pretty much did it. But he, for sure, as far as smoking, I know for a fact, it definitely wasn't smoking. He probably hadn't, golly, if he's ever smoked, ever.
I cannot picture. The man is a pillar of health as far as gym, nutrition, we talk about all the time. From whatever enjoyment he has outside of the ring, the one thing I never saw his vice being was cigarettes. He doesn't seem to be like a cigarette smoker. Just not his style, right?
At all. And we're all pretty much, as far as the brothers, John and Steve, myself, none of us really. I mean, our parents, smoked a little bit growing up. So,
But different times back then, right? Everybody smoked in that generation.
It didn't matter where I was crazy. It didn't matter, wherever you went, in the car, in the restaurant, in the store.
I was going to say, in our generation, people don't realize what it used to be like forever until it changed, in the, let's say around the early to mid 2000s, so to speak. But, back in the day, forever, you'd have people smoking in the airplane. You'd be in a restaurant and the table next to you'd be smoking. People smoking in their cars, in the park, in the offices. People were in the desk next to you and they were smoking.
Yes.
People smoking in the bathroom. Like, they were smoking every chance they got.
Oh, bro, it was brutal. I mean, even as kids, we'd lay on the floor. That's where the kids, when we had parties or sleep out, whatever, the kids laid on the floor, and the parents were on the couches and the chairs, and they were smoking. You could look up into the air of the room and it'd be waves of smoke while you're watching TV. You'd stay below, on the ground. But it didn't hurt us. I guess nothing hurt us back then. Now they're afraid of everything.
We didn't know. Oh, that's another discussion for the day.
If you don't ride your bicycle now and wear your seatbelt, you're going to die in like 13 seconds. So
just so people understand, when Jerry and I were kids, your parents set you off on your bicycle, no helmet, and go enjoy bike riding. I'll see you in 3 hours. And you biked like kilometers by yourself at 10 years old. Now you'd never see that in a million years. Times are different. But what has not changed, Jerry, in the sport of wrestling, coming back, it always comes back to wrestling for some reason. You've been around it for so many years. I got another question for you. The use of the word brother. Now, I believe Hulk Hogan is mainly the one responsible for this, but you've been around wrestlers enough. I got to ask you, I know Mark uses enough. Is it kind of like an initiation when you go to wrestling school? Do they teach you the fine art of saying, yeah, brother, brother? Like, you cannot almost go, every second word has to be brother. What is with the word brother? Come on.
I believe Hogan's the only one that I ever knew or was around that used it brother. Now, Mark uses it, and I guess where I get it from a lot is, whoa, bro. He's a BRO. Bro, what's up? And that's his big deal. And my kids, my son, his group, born in the late 90s, being around them, coaching them in baseball, stuff like that, they broed each other. Whoa, yeah, bro. So,
bro, I don't know how, when bro really went into effect, let's say definitely the last 10, 15 years for sure, if not more. But in wrestling, you got Riddle, and Riddle's the original bro, right? So even his theme song is bro. So bro is a whole different matter. But bring it back to old school, we're talking about brother. And
the only one I can ever remember really doing that from like we talked about, you and I before, talking about who I've met and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I met them all and talked to them, and they when I was traveling with him, and I didn't get a lot of brothers, more bro, I guess, if you will, than brother, except for Hogan.
When you were walking through the WCW locker room with Mark, you wouldn't have every second guy, hey, brother.
Bro and man. Hey, man, bro and man. A lot of, and They also did something after a match.
Yes.
They shook hands and said, everybody was like, thank you. Hey, thank you. I don't know what that was.
Wrestlers are a polite bunch, actually.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And like I say, good times with all of them. They all were there for one thing. You know, they wanted to do their gig, their show, their time, go to the top. And it's about, like, I mean, you're a Major League Baseball fan. You know how many make it and how many do not. And,
just ask Steve Carsey. He's the guy who'll tell you that much.
Carsey, yeah, man. I love watching
that guy's
Carsey.
A walking baseball encyclopedia. You don't even want to know that guy. The stats he throws at you, man. And we just had on, we just did our taping, and we have one of his old teammates, Scott Burrell, was on. He played with Jordan. He was in The Last Dance. So the guy was a Major League Baseball prospect, first round draft pick, ended up going with basketball. But the little story there was, I figured it out talking to Steve and then doing some research. They were roommates back in St. Catharines, Ontario, as rookies, 19 years old in the minors, before Scott even made it to thinking of basketball. He played college basketball at the same time he played professional baseball in the minors. And then he went on to basketball, NBA, won a championship with the Bulls during The Last Dance.
Oh yeah.
Steve went on to pitch with the Yankees, with the A's. And, you know, but the funny thing was, it was over 30 years. I brought them together. It was the first time they had seen each other in 30 years at that taping. That was insane. I was like blown away. And it was like they hadn't seen each other in one day. Like, that's the kind of kinship. Yeah.
I like that. That's strong. That's really strong. That's good.
But that's the kind of dude Steve Carsey is, and that's the kind of level of people that he attracts. And, you know, anybody that knows the guy and you see they're good people. The same way Marc Bagwell, the people who are really close to him, that know him, they're good people. You know, that's the kind of energy that you attract. Now, I got a question for you on Marc as well. It's one of those things that there's only so many times I can bring up the same topic with him. So I got to know it now from the family perspective. One of my biggest beefs with him is theme songs. And why I have a beef with him is like this. So one of my favorite theme songs of all time, and I love wrestling theme songs, I'm not going to lie, but one of my favorite ones is the Buff Bagwell theme song. Why I'm bringing it up is because somebody just literally, as we started taping, I saw in the corner of my eye, somebody sent me on Instagram and I was looking at it. Jimmy Hart is appearing in Ontario, Canada, coming in July, appearing at, I don't know, a shawarma stand or something. But Jimmy Hart's going to be here. Jimmy Hart is the godfather of wrestling theme songs. I mean, the man made the Shawn Michaels theme song and countless others, but he did do the Buff Bagwell theme song. And I love the Buff Bagwell theme song. But I asked Marc about it. He's not that excited about it. He actually sings along and loves the American Males one.
I don't know where that American Males came from, if that one came from Jimmy Hart as well.
Jimmy Hart was probably on LSD when he came up with that theme song.
Yeah, I know, as far as he and Scotty Riggs, I guess.
They had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, I hadn't seen Scotty in forever, though. Just reminded me. The theme song, though, the only one I know for a fact was the Jimmy Hart and the Buff Daddy, the one that everybody knew through WCW early 90s until the late 90s.
But you've heard the American Males one, obviously.
Sure.
Have you seen the music video for it?
Yes. You know, you and I talked, I guess, a little bit about it. I'm pretty sure all of that was filmed down in downtown Atlanta. The basketball courts, everything, the buildings.
Yes.
All filmed right there. And they did a great job with it. They did a real good job.
I did not appreciate the American Males theme song until I heard Buff singing it at a convention and there was tape of it. And I heard him singing American Males, American Males. And I like, okay, I get it. It is catchy.
And that's the only words I think that I know. If you played it, that would be the only, and I don't know that when the guy starts screaming, if you want to, whatever he says, I have no idea. But I know there's other words there.
When you see them coming, better run for cover. Girls, you don't need a weekend lover. American Males.
Okay, that's it. Yeah.
You better not listen. You're going to end up in critical condition. American males, American males, American males. But you know what? I actually have it on a wrestling playlist with my trainer Jared. Like we work out in our gym there in Ontario, Canada, right? Shout out to Vaughn Strength and Conditioning, VSC. And we got a wrestling playlist and we added American males onto there. People give us the most crooked looks saying, what the heck is this thing doing in a gym? But it's catchy. It's fun. But the Buff Bagwell one, I mean, that's like, you could tell whoever wrote Shawn Michaels was very influenced by it. Clearly, it's the same dude, and it was Jimmy Hart. But, you know, Buff, and he doesn't have the raspy voice at this point, right? The funny part was that Marc Buff recorded that song almost instantly when he had his injury, when he broke his neck. So that song never got to take off at the exact moment because the man got injured. Like, how crappy is it that you are now Buff Daddy, you're in the black and white NWO, you now have the Buff Daddy theme song, and then you're injured? Like, man, the timing could have been worse for this dude.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it was a sad deal where he thought he would never wrestle again.
He thought probably couldn't walk again. Like, right?
Correct. And then I'm pretty sure I was on that night. I knew immediately. I don't remember where we were. We were watching it on TV. I think I was with his brother.
Which
brother?
Do you recall?
Steve. Steve.
This is Steve the third?
Steve Jr.
Steve Jr. we call him by. Okay.
He's a bad boy. He's the one that kept everybody in line as we were growing up.
He's a Bagwell. I don't know what you want from the man.
He and I are very close to this day. Like I said, we deer hunt. Usually starting in about September, we deer hunt every day. And that's not, through February the 10th. And he's good. He's about 6'4.5", I would guess. 6'4.5", 230, and probably worked out every day of his life since 1964. And he was born in 63.
What does Steve Jr. do for a living?
He is a manager for a petroleum company on the north side of town and oversees several different stores and stuff like that. He got a pretty good gig, real good gig through a friend. Does that pretty much part-time, I believe, because I got to have him for hunting and stuff. It doesn't matter that, like, hunting, he's a beast. I mean, he takes it very seriously. I mean, it's, start to finish, don't talk to him. He's getting ready. He is serious. And like I said, he, as big as he is, as strong as he is, if we kill a deer and somebody says, hey, go get the John Deere Gator, we're going to pull down. It's like, an off-road ATV or something. He won't. No vehicles on the property. No vehicles on my property. And he'll just go down himself, get it, throw it over his shoulders, and walk out, whether it be 500 yards or half a mile. And just like unbelievably strong. And we were there though, back on watching Ben, and I knew immediately something was wrong. The way Marc tells the story, I knew.
You didn't think it was kayfabe. You knew, you had a bad feeling about this one.
No doubt. And the reason I knew was, I said, if that's the finish, somebody missed something somewhere. Yeah. And I can see his mouth moving, and I just got an eerie feeling something's up. And then they didn't stay. They immediately went to a commercial. My phone started ringing. Steve's phone started ringing. I'm ringing his mother, and nobody can get a hold of anybody. And I don't remember who called Judy or Big Jude. That's what I'd say. When she wasn't listening, that's what I'd say, Big Jude.
I never knew that she was Big Jude as well. Everybody's big somebody there.
Big Ed, Big John, Big Jude, and Big Steve. Big Steve's the champion. He knows it. But no.
That's Steve Sr.
The Big Steve actually it comes from nobody wanted to call Steve or Steve Jr., Steve Jr. So he wanted to be called, I'm Steve, that's my name. Well, when you had Big Steve, that's his name. So when Jude would say, Steve, instead of having two people go, yeah, or they said, ma'am, don't let it fool you. No, they didn't. It was, so we said, well, what do we call little, he didn't like little Steve either. And Steve was Steve. Not. So we couldn't say Big Steve and Little Steve, which I do, or, you know, the cousins or anybody that hunts on our farm or whatever, that's what they say. But so it ended up becoming Stevie. So he was Stevie, and then he sort of graduated from that. We called him Stevie Wonder. And then from there, Big Steve remained Big Steve and kept that.
So and then a few people. So you had Big Steve and Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. He's my hero. But that's how that came about. But yeah, trying to get in touch with them, nobody knew anything. And it was tough. And then finally we got word late that night.
Yes. And
I want to say we went to work the next day, or we might have been hunting. That's a big deal, you know. It's a big deal. You know the deal. And we found out late that night, maybe into the wee hours of the morning, and it murdered us. We didn't know what to do. There's a place here in Atlanta that specializes in, you know, severed spines and anything with neck injury. I can't remember the Shepherd Spinal Center, I think is the name of it. And of course, we're trying to figure out what's up. Is everything good? As we, you know, and of course, then we got the news, and then everything, he kind of progressed and was doing better. Like almost, you know, they were like, we've never seen anything like this. And, you know, that's.
How long did it take? How long did it take that you got in touch with Marc directly, or you saw him after the injury?
Probably within a few days, face to face, for sure. And back then, I mean, you're talking, you know, mid 90s, early 90s. You didn't text, you didn't email. Everybody's computers seemed like they were from 1963. There you go. Yeah. Or the big brick Nextel. They have Nextels in Canada. There you go. They had that big brick. So we really didn't have that. We might have had pagers trying to graduate into the Nextel era, if you will. But
I had a BlackBerry pager, by the way. That was my thing before BlackBerry was. Yeah, I actually had BlackBerry pagers.
I accidentally had one of those, and man, that was cool for a while. But then you would have the pager and somebody shoot you a number. Well, the area code here, everybody had the same number.
Right.
It was 404. So you didn't put that, they just put a number in. You're like, what's this? 925.
Times have changed.
You pull over and put a dime in the payphone, may have been a quarter. And you call whoever it is, hey, what's up? Nothing, we just want to see what you were doing. Oh, we're headed over here. And okay, good. All right, we're headed that way. We'll be right there. You know, and that's the way it was.
That was the calls.
You had the pager.
So you could just.
Then they started doing. I'm sorry.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't text Marc at this point. You know, it's getting over to the hospital, seeing him, and trying to get in touch.
Right. And then when I guess finally we you know, the diagnosis, you know, wasn't good. And of course they're saying long road to recovery, and he wants to know, when can I get back in the ring, bro? You know, and of course at that point in time, no working out, not eating right, no training whatsoever.
He's walking, but he's walking at this point.
Correct. Losing weight.
Yeah.
And then he just progresses like lightning and gets on a plan, which I wish I had it. When he finally gets back to where he's almost 100%, that's the photograph of him where he looks slender, but it's one of the best photographed body shot in the red pants. That was, he'll tell you that was the first picture he took. And very lean, very lean, very ripped. I mean, it was incredible. And all of a sudden he's back. And now at the same time, now keep in mind, while he was doing that, you know, he was Scott Steiner's, like he was out there making a joke of it and running around like nothing ever happened. And he was wearing white overalls, Calvin Klein. They were airbrushed white, or white, airbrushed black. That was a great artist that did all that work for him. I can't remember his name, but he was a great guy. He's bouncing around making a joke out of it. And then all of a sudden, that's when the storyline with Bischoff, they put the story together with, we're going to bring your mom in. And as he's getting better, he comes out in a wheelchair. And I think
they made an action figure out of that thing. I mean, like,
yeah.
That's the world of wrestling. There's no shame whatsoever.
And that made, that doll sold, I can't remember how many hundreds of thousands of, you know, when
with
those
the neck brace, the removable neck brace. Like, what is wrong with people? Why do we have an action figure of this man who broke his neck, but people can't get enough of this stuff?
No. And that pretty much started there with Hogan disowning NWO Black. The Red comes in. He and Scotty joined that. And then, of course, he's still making fun of I never broke my neck, which was a joke. And they brought his mom in.
Yeah.
We've got a spot for you. And of course, to begin with, she'll call anybody, anytime, any day, anywhere, and will speak whatever. It didn't matter.
Jude was not a shy woman, you're telling me.
Absolutely no doubt about it. And I think she was all go to begin with, but a little nervous like anybody would be. You're going on national/international TV. You're fixing to walk out. And I think Hogan told her that night, just pretend like you're mad at him when you get to the ring. Because she's going to go.
That's not hard.
She's like, all right. And of course comes out Rick Steiner comes out to begin with something, you know, hey, Buff, I know you think this is a joke. You and my brother, he'd say brother, but he didn't say brother. He said brother. Y'all think this is a joke. Guess what? I have somebody here that don't think this is a joke. Your mom. And all of a sudden some music play like dun, 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 dun. And here she comes walking down the ramp. And the fans are going berserk. And she comes out there, grabs the microphone, and just goes to work. And it's about like Mark had wrecked one of her cars in the lake in front of the house, and he was fixing to get it. She let him have it. And you saw the taping. And
were you at the taping, or were you watching that on TV as well?
I was not at the taping at that one, and I didn't see it live and wish I would have. I saw it afterwards, after it started heating up on the internet, and his middle brother called me, John, and said, hey, you got to watch this. You got to find it. You got to, and I absolutely just brought tears to my eyes when I watched it. It was incredible. It actually reminded me a few times of when she'd gotten mad at me, and I had to turn it off real fast. I didn't want to start, and I was like, whoa, no.
See, the problem with that gimmick, and it was a gimmick, folks, don't kid yourself. It was such a great gimmick, and we all loved it. I can tell you here in Ontario, Canada, we're all rooting for Judy, but it was so believable that when the urban legend began, that she was calling Vince McMahon and the WWF and complaining about Mark, that's what got Mark out of WWF. That's a load of horse baloney, but it was so believable because that's the image we had of Judy. So Judy being so good at what she did, I think looking back on it, I love the gimmick, but I probably wouldn't have run with it because it ended up hurting him in that sense.